Hi, I'm Judy Bonner, facilitator of your newly formed Racial Allies for Racial Justice team, which is a sub-team of SJOT. We are proud to be presenting a virtual racial justice workshop on 3 Mondays in November, the 9th, 23rd, and 30th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. The presenters need no introduction to most of you, Reverend Michael Carter and Reverend Judith Long. Some of you may remember a workshop they presented a few years ago. This new one promises to be timely, relevant, and challenging. In session 1, we will discuss the difference between diversity training and anti-racism efforts for institutions. In session 2, white privilege and white fragility will be explored. And in session 3, we will learn how to become an ally in the struggle for racial justice. Each session will include a presentation and a discussion in small breakout groups. Mark your calendars. This is a conversation we all need to have. To join this powerful workshop, please send your name and email address to judybonner1@outlook.com with workshop in the subject line. We will reserve your space and send you a reminder and the Zoom link before each session. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Hendersonville. Thank you for joining us. I am Ann Talley, your worship associate this week. I invite you to check our website at uufhnc.org and learn more about us and our activities that relate to the world today. Please join us on Zoom Sunday morning at 11:30 for our Stones of Compassion and Beloved conversations. Now, whoever you are, wherever you're viewing today's service, we invite you to take a few deep breaths. Let your mind, body, and spirit come to rest. Know that through today's service runs our congregation's care for you and the world we share with you. In that spirit, we offer this invocation from Reverend Jennifer Kwong, who serves as Ministerial Credentialing Director for our denomination. Spirit of life, you speak to us from the east to the west. You speak to us from the north to the south. You call us from the depths of our being. We respond with enthusiasm and fervor. We cry out from Manila to Maui. We shout from Alaska to Alabama. We proclaim your wondrous love from the highest mountain to the deepest ocean. Our voices must be heard. We shall not be silent. Our voices must be heard.
Just off US 19 in Holiday, Florida, is Joining Hands Community Ministry, where the broken come to heal. Once a thriving conventional congregation, by 2008 the church had become a shadow of its former self. Unwilling to settle for a tepid ministry and eventual extinction, the pastor and the people cast a new vision, a vision in which their silent buildings would become vessels for empowerment and their sanctuary a place made holy by worshipers' suffering and perseverance. At that campus, single moms come to feed their kids, to get bus passes, to learn how to navigate the systems. At that campus, children play and sing and learn, and if only for a few hours each weekday, receive something approaching a healthy childhood. And at that campus, there are the men, young and old, who've come to get sober, talk about their guilt and their pain. They pick out clothes for the job interviews they hope will come soon They choose shirts. They get haircuts. And this song is about their sacred struggle and their jagged lives. You say you want your tomorrows to be better than your yesterdays. Friend, you know I've been there too. But there's a mighty wide chasm between what is and what might be. You know it all comes back to you. So you go on and get yourself a haircut, find yourself a suit, and have them start your shirt and put a crease in your pants. 'Cause you're one walk in the resurrection. Call it God or call it fate, or you can just call it a second chance. If there's an easier road, you would have found it by now. What you wouldn't give to go back in time. There's one thing that you've learned if you don't know anything else. It's every road runs through your mind. So you go on and get yourself a haircut, find yourself a suit, and have them start your shirt and put a crease in those pants. 'Cause you're one walk in the resurrection. Call it God or call it fate, or you can just call it a second chance. Sometimes it's one step forward, sometimes it's two steps back. Sometimes you're just a leaf on the wind. But you keep facing down the demons, 'cause you've done your stretch in hell, and you're not going back again. So you go on and get yourself a haircut, and find yourself a suit, have them start your shirt and put a crease in those pants. 'Cause you're one walk in a resurrection. Call it God, call it fate, or you can just call it a second chance. Or you can just call it a second chance. Hi everybody, this is Don Rollins. I'm the interim minister here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Hendersonville, North Carolina. As always, we're glad you're with us. Today I want to talk about surviving, and more than just surviving, maybe even flourishing. And a little more about that. We have all come through some hard places, and we may be going through some hard places. And yet, we're still here. So what does it mean to grow into our own strength and our own power, even when times are hard like they are right now? That's where we're headed. First, a couple of short readings for you. The first comes to us from Kathy Fewson Hurt. She is a Unitarian Universalist minister. This is from her meditation manual, Quest. A double movement of suffering and salvation flows through our days, sweeping us along in contrary streams. We fall, only to be caught up and carried on to the next height and the next shadow depth. All is lost, we think, even ourselves, utterly emptied. No fulfillment might come. Broken and bound up, we walk through time, living the passion, endlessly passing from death to life, suffering and salvation, paradoxical rhythm of reality's heart. And to make a few of you who are Carl Sandburg fans around here in particular, a piece from Sandburg called The Road and the End. I shall foot it down the roadway in the dusk, where shapes of hunger wander and fugitives of pain go by. I shall foot it in the silence of the morning, see the night slur into dawn, hear the slow great winds arise, where tall trees flank the way and shoulder toward the sky. The broken boulders by the road shall not commemorate my ruin. Regret shall be the gravel underfoot. I shall watch for slim birds swift of wing. They go where wind and ranks of thunder drive the wild processionals of rain. The dust of the traveled road shall touch my hands and my face. I share these with you because they talk about journey and they talk about the hardship of journey. And we celebrate that we may be on such a path ourselves. If I ruled the universe, not something you want to dwell on, trust me, everybody would begin the day with a simple mantra seared into their minds and written on their hearts. Just this: I'm still here. I'd trace it on our bathroom mirrors when we get up in the morning. I'd place it on the highway signs. I'd print it on banners towed across the heavens by prop planes. I'd write songs that proclaim it. T-shirts, bumper stickers, yard signs, COVID face masks, if I could make it fit. I'd announce it in Spanish and Swahili, Chinese, Arabic, Braille, sign language. No assumptions that everybody ought to be chipper and just count their blessings. No admonitions to be grateful for every moment. No guilt trips for those who would rather not have awakened at all. Just the simple mantra: I am still here. Like some of you, I was raised on Amazing Grace, English slave ship runner John Newton's iconic hymn from 1772. The backstory most of us received is more or less accurate, but it lacks several details to make that story even richer. Not the least of which is the influence of one William Cowper, Newton's friend, co-writer, survivor of long bouts of depression and multiple attempts to take his own life. Newton credited Cowper with several passages of what one contemporary critic called an unashamedly middle-brow lyricist writing for a low-brow congregation. And yet, some of us hear parts of that hymn and we say, those are my words and that's my music. There is a stanza in verse 3. It's going to sound familiar. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. Dangers, toils, and snares. Yet today I'm moved by those images and by those words. They're a song affirmation from another time, declaring the writer is still here despite all he has seen, all he has endured. Cowper is a veteran of suffering, whose pain gives no signal of lessening. There's only this: the reliance upon whatever force put the wanderer on the path to the present, and trust that that path will lead home, wherever and whatever that is. I think it's a poetic salute. No, I think it's a testimony to perseverance in the face of it all. It's old William Cowper's facing the void, shouting into the abyss, listen to me, because I'm still here. Before we move on, here's an exercise. I want you to take 30 seconds to think of something or someone or someplace in your life you've survived. I want you to take 30 seconds to think about your personal dangers, toils, and snares. Those places, someplace in particular maybe, you made it through, and you carry that memory with pride. Go ahead, I'll wait right here. And I want you to put out your own benediction for those 30 seconds. I'm still here. Hold that memory in mind and heart as we move through the rest of today's short message. The late UU minister Patrick O'Neill offered an autumn meditation that applies for us. He wrote, "There's a tree in front of my front yard, a spindly-looking variation of maple that remains full and green this second week of November. It stands out in contrast to its dozens of relatives which line my street and have long since flared out in autumnal fury. O'Neill is taken by this tree. It's there standing its ground as the season of snow makes ready. He wonders if trees are, like us, capable of rebelling against the script they were handed." He continues, "On a street full of bare branches, naked elms, empty oaks, and bereft birch trees, my maple blooms. Green and gaudy and defiant in this second week of November, living on its own terms, its own timing. Follow the crowd, in due time perhaps, but until that killing frost or that first snowflake arrives on the wind, there's a spindly-looking maple determined to be the last holdout on State Street." I'm still here. You know, most of the times we have no idea who's in front of us. To paraphrase from a source I can't remember, instead of asking what's wrong with that person, can we learn to ask what they've been through, what they've survived? And you know, right now, pretty much everybody I know is going through a lot, some of us more than others. Our hearts ache. The very fear, let alone contraction of COVID, is testing our spiritual mettle and our endurance. Both the congregations I serve are for the most part weary, they're restless, and they're burdened. Together we are facing dangers, toils, and snares few of us could have imagined 8 months ago, let alone prepare to handle. And let's be real, that suffering has been made far worse by an administration that still posits face masks as an option, not a necessity. And let me get personal for a moment, for in speaking with my colleagues in ministry, we're feeling it too. We feel it as we lose sleep and focus. Speaking for myself, my stuttering, a condition I've had since junior high, has gone up a notch. Like my friends and colleagues, I treat everybody I know as a potential bearer of doom. And even watching the New York Yankees get booted out of the preseason wasn't nearly as sweet as in previous days. So I don't know when a safe vaccine will come to be. I fret for a country increasingly foreign to me, and I miss seeing the people I serve. And yet, here I am. And yet, here you are. According to William Cowper again, the point of suffering is less important than the steel of the sufferer. I read those lines of Amazing Grace as belonging to one who has known deep pain and is in pain still, but refuses to surrender either will or faith in something or someone somewhere. And so he sets his sights on what? On his own grit. The grit to carry on without guarantee. There is only the will to carry on without guarantee, and never ever surrender the particle of holiness that is only his to let shine. Never surrender the particle of holiness that is only his to let shine. Dangers, toils, and snares be damned. I want you to take another 30 seconds. I want you to recall that same hardship that came to mind a few minutes ago. This time, focus on why you're so proud of how you persevered. Think about a choice or two that you made, actions you took? Was there somebody there to help you make it through? Did you learn something? Take 30 seconds to think about why you're so proud of that memory or present. I want you to do one more thing. Let your benediction be a soft whisper. I'm still here. Say it again. I'm still here. I want you to take those questions and answers with you as you go about the week ahead. Celebrate the dangers, toils, and snares through which you've already come. Keep them close as we face a difficult set of elections. For no matter the outcomes, this is going to be a hard time. So a hard time added to a hard time. I want to wind down with a reflection on perseverance from Rabbi Harold Schulweis. It's about the time when the great violinist Itzhak Perlman made the best of a very bad situation. Rabbi Harold wrote, "We have seen Itzhak Perlman, who walks the stage with braces on both legs, on two crutches. He takes a seat, unhinges the clasps on his own legs. He tucks one leg, extending the other, laying down his crutches, placing the violin under his chin. On one occasion, one of his violin strings broke. The audience grew silent, but the violinist did not leave the stage. He signaled the maestro, and the orchestra began its part. The violinist played with power and intensity on only 3 strings. With 3 strings, he modulated, changed, recomposed the piece in his head. He retuned the strings to get different sounds, tuning them upward and downward. The audience screamed in delight. They applauded their appreciation. Asked later how he had accomplished this feat, the violinist answered, 'It is my task to make music with what remains.'" Perlman stayed on the stage. He was still there. This was a legacy mightier than a concert. Make music with what remains. Complete the song that is left for us to sing on this planet. Transcend the lost, play it out with heart, soul, and might. And when we finish our own music, let us be shouting into the abyss of all we've been through, saying, "I am still here. I'm still here."
Today's closing words were written by our interim minister, Don Rollins. "The roads have been long, the bends many. Beset by troubles, confronted by our own mistakes, the journey has not always been easy. Still, we rise in spirit to celebrate, amazed and proud to have come this far. Our lives are no longer strict ledgers, box scores of those we've blessed and those we've harmed. We've ceased being our own judges and juries and come into our own power for good. Let us never forget the roads that led to the one we tread today. The wrong turns, a few dead ends. Let us never forget our trespasses, lest we stray from love's path yet again. Yet here we are, all clothed in grace and glory, announcing to all who will listen, we're still here. We are still here. As always, we're glad you spent some time with us today. We hope you found food for soul and mind, and will join us for next week's online service. Go in peace.
you.